You think flying is stressful? Try doing it while managing 200 strangers who forgot basic manners the moment they stepped onto the plane. Flight attendants see everything, the good, the bad, and the stuff that makes them question humanity while cruising at high altitudes. They're trained to keep smiling, trained to stay calm, trained to save your life if things go sideways. But secretly, they have a list, a mental scoreboard of passenger behaviors that slowly chip away at their sanity, flight after flight, day after day. They'll never tell you to your face, but today, we're pulling back the curtain. These are the things that make flight attendants secretly lose their minds, and understanding them might just make you the passenger they actually remember for the right reasons. Boarding hasn't even started yet, but there's already a problem brewing. The gate agent announces Group 1, and suddenly 40 people surge forward like they're storming a concert venue. They're clutching boarding passes that clearly say Group 5, Group 7, even Group 9, but logic has left the building. Flight attendants have a name for this phenomenon: gate lice. These are the passengers who hover, creep closer, and create a human barrier between the actual boarding groups and the jet bridge. It's not just annoying, it creates genuine delays because now the gate agent has to play traffic cop, scanning passes and sending people back while the clock keeps ticking. Inside the aircraft, flight attendants watch this circus unfold and already know what's coming next. Because the people who can't follow boarding group rules are usually the same ones who will ignore every other instruction for the next 3 hours. The chaos starts before wheels even leave the ground, and it sets the tone for everything that follows. Want to impress the crew before you even say hello? Wait your turn. Stand back. Board when your group is called. It's not complicated, and it instantly separates the seasoned travelers from the ones who think flying is a free-for-all. You've made it past the gate through the jet bridge, and now you're standing in the aisle with your life packed into 3 separate bags. One goes overhead, one goes under the seat, and one apparently needs its own zip code. Here's where things get interesting. Passengers treat overhead bins like a lawless frontier, shoving their belongings into the first available space regardless of where they're actually sitting. Row 8 passenger? Their bag's in row 23. Row 30 passenger somehow claimed prime real estate in row 5. This isn't just rude, it's mathematical sabotage. When everyone grabs space randomly, the people sitting in the middle and back end up with nowhere to put anything. Their bags get gate-checked, their flights get delayed, and the domino effect spreads through the entire boarding process. Flight attendants spend precious minutes playing Tetris with luggage, rearranging bags, hunting down owners, all while departure time slips further away. Then there's the opapacker, the person who brought a carry-on that clearly exceeds every dimension limit but somehow squeezed past the gate agent. Now it won't fit, won't turn, won't cooperate. And 3 flight attendants are sweating through their uniforms trying to make physics bend. The code is simple: 1 bag overhead, 1 bag under your seat, and both stored near where you're actually sitting. Follow it, and you've just made yourself invisible in the best possible way. But that wasn't the only chaos happening during boarding. Boarding is moving very slowly. Passengers shuffle down the aisle, stuffing bags, claiming armrests, settling in. Then someone makes a break for it. Mid-boarding, mid-aisle clog, they decide right now is the perfect moment to use the lavatory. To them, it seems logical. The flight's about to take off, bathrooms might get busy later, better go now. But here's what they don't see. FAA regulations state the aircraft cannot push back from the gate if anyone's out of their seat. So while you're inside that coffin-sized room, the entire plane, every passenger, every crew member, the pilots, the ground staff, everyone is waiting on you. The door's locked, the count's off, and the departure slot is evaporating. Flight attendants stand outside with frozen smiles, checking their watches, knowing that this single decision just cost the flight its on-time status. And here's the kicker: those labs aren't even fully prepped during boarding. Crew members are still stocking supplies, cleaning, making sure everything works. You're not just using the bathroom, you're walking into someone's workspace mid-setup. The fix is embarrassingly simple. Use the terminal restroom before boarding. It's bigger, cleaner, doesn't have a queue of annoyed passengers forming outside, and most importantly, doesn't hold 180 people hostage. Because the only thing worse than a delayed flight is being the reason it's delayed. And trust me, the crew knows exactly who you are. You've settled into your seat, tray table down, screen loading, everything's peaceful. Then your nose catches something, It starts faint, then builds. Someone 3 rows up, just unwrapped a tuna sandwich. Another passenger kicked off shoes that haven't seen fresh air since last summer. Someone else decided a breakfast burrito was the perfect travel snack. And way in the back, there's a cologne cloud thick enough to qualify as a chemical incident. In a sealed metal tube recycling the same air for hours, every smell becomes everybody's problem. What you eat, what you wear, what you spray, it doesn't stay with you. It travels. It lingers. It assaults. Flight attendants can't say anything. Confronting a passenger about their footwear or lunch choice isn't in the manual. So they suffer in silence, breathing through their mouths, wondering why common sense didn't make it past security. The galley becomes a refuge, the only place where they can escape the symphony of sense created by passengers who forgot they're sharing space with hundreds of strangers. Seasoned travelers know the code. Pack neutral. Granola bars, crackers, fruit, nothing that announces itself. Keep your shoes on unless you're absolutely certain your socks are cleaner than the aircraft itself. Skip the body spray, the perfume, the cologne. You're not going to a club. You're going to row 19C. If you wouldn't bring it to a crowded elevator, it has no business on a plane, because nothing turns a flight into collective misery faster than one person treating the cabin like their personal dining room or locker room. Speaking of personal space violations, it happens constantly. A flight attendant walks past with a tray of drinks, focused, balanced, moving carefully through turbulence. Then someone reaches out and grabs their arm. Not a polite tap, a full grab, like they're stopping a friend in a shopping mall. Here's what passengers forget in that moment. Flight attendants aren't wandering the aisles for fun. They're working in a moving vehicle, often carrying hot liquids, sharp objects, heavy carts. An unexpected touch can cause spills, injuries, even falls. Imagine someone yanking your elbow while you're carrying a pot of boiling water in a rocking kitchen. That's what it feels like at 35,000 feet. Beyond the safety risk, there's something deeper. These are trained professionals responsible for evacuating the aircraft in an emergency, administering first aid, handling conflicts. They're not servants, they're not your friends, and they're definitely not there to be grabbed, poked, or prodded whenever you need a napkin. The correct approach takes 2 seconds. Make eye contact, raise your hand slightly, or say, "Excuse me?" That's it. They'll see you. They always do. Their job is literally to notice passengers. But the moment you reach out and touch them without permission, you've crossed a line that makes every future interaction awkward. Respect in the air works the same as on the ground. You wouldn't grab a stranger's arm at Starbucks to ask for extra sugar. Don't do it at 35,000 feet either, especially when that stranger is keeping you alive. The service cart is rolling. 2 flight attendants pushing 250 pounds of metal, drinks, and snacks through an aisle barely wide enough for one person. They stop at your row, smile, and ask the question, "Anything to drink?" Nothing. You're completely zoned out. Noise-canceling headphones on, eyes glued to your screen. Existing in a personal bubble that might as well be on another planet, the attendant tries again, a little louder. Still nothing. Now comes the awkward dance. Waving hands, leaning into your field of vision, maybe a gentle shoulder tap. Behind them, the cart is blocking the entire aisle. Passengers behind you can't get through. Service slows to a crawl. And all because one person couldn't pause their movie for 5 seconds. Here's the reality check. Flight attendants have to serve hundreds of people in a space tighter than most hallways. Every second counts. When you make them work around your audio bubble, you're not just delaying your own service, you're creating a traffic jam that affects everyone behind you. The drink you finally get after they've mimed their question 3 times. It's lukewarm by then. The person 5 rows back is still waiting because of the bottleneck you created. Nobody's asking for a conversation, just basic awareness. When you see the cart coming, pop out one earbud, make eye contact, respond like a human being who shares space with other human beings. The flight attendants aren't trying to interrupt your entertainment, they're trying to do their job efficiently so everyone gets what they need while it's still cold, hot, or relevant. One earbud out for 10 seconds. That's the difference between smooth service and silent resentment at 35,000 feet. The cabin lights dim, the crew stands at their positions, life vests in hand, practicing the choreography they've performed thousands of times. The safety demonstration begins. Seatbelts, oxygen masks, exit rows, flotation devices. It's the same routine on every flight, the same gestures, the same critical information, and half the cabin ignores it completely. Phones come out, headphones go in, and magazines open. To most passengers, this is filler content, something they've seen before and assume they'll never need. But ask any flight attendant who's worked an actual emergency, and they'll tell you the same thing. The people who panic hardest are always the ones who tuned out during the demo. Because when smoke fills the cabin or the plane hits water, there's no time to figure things out. No time to Google how a life vest works, no time to count rows to the nearest exit. Those 2 minutes you spent scrolling through social media, they could have been the difference between getting out safely and freezing in fear while others push past you. Flight attendants aren't performing for applause. They're trying to prepare you for scenarios nobody wants to imagine. The regulations require the demo, but the crew does it because they genuinely care whether you survive. So when they point to the exits, look. When they show you the oxygen mask, pay attention. When they demonstrate the life vest, watch. You're not being lectured, you're being equipped. And the respect you show by giving them 2 minutes of attention, that tells them you're the kind of passenger who'll actually listen if things go wrong. Which brings us to the people who ignore even more critical warnings. The plane hits a rough patch. The seatbelt sign dings on with that distinctive chime, and the captain's voice comes through. Flight attendants, please be seated. It's not a suggestion. It's an order based on radar data showing turbulence ahead, the kind that can drop the aircraft without warning. And yet, someone always stands up. Maybe they need the bathroom, maybe they want their bag from overhead, maybe they just don't feel like following rules. Flight attendants see this constantly, and every time, their stress spikes. Because they know what passengers don't, turbulence can slam you into the ceiling. It can throw you across the aisle. It can turn a standing passenger into a projectile that injures everyone nearby. The crew has seen it happen, cleaned up the aftermath, filed the injury reports. That little illuminated sign isn't about control, it's about physics. When the plane drops suddenly, you drop with it, and if you're standing, you're going wherever momentum decides to throw you. The flight attendants buckled in their jump seats aren't being cautious. They're following protocol that exists because people have been seriously hurt ignoring it. And here's the frustrating part. The same passengers who stand during turbulence are often the first ones to complain if they get injured, as if the warnings didn't apply to them specifically. The seatbelt sign is your friend. When it's on, sit down. When it's off, move quickly and sit back down. There's no prize for being the brave one who walks the aisle during rough air. Just hospital bills and a reputation as the person who didn't know better. But some passengers take their rebellion even further during the most critical phase. The captain's voice cuts through the cabin noise. Cabin crew, prepare for landing. The flight attendants make their final walkthrough, checking tray tables, seat positions, carry-ons. The seatbelt sign glows bright, and someone, without fail, decides none of this applies to them. They stay reclined at a 45-degree angle, tray table down, with a half-finished crossword puzzle, bag still wedged under their feet. The attendant stops, asks politely to put the seat upright. The passenger groans, moves it up an inch, then settles back into their recline the moment the crew walks past. Others play the fake sleep card, eyes closed, body perfectly still, pretending they can't hear instructions delivered 2 feet from their face. Flight attendants see through this performance immediately, but confronting it takes time they don't have. Here's why this matters. Every rule about landing position exists because of crashes. Hard landings, emergency evacuations, that upright seat gives you and the person behind you a better chance of getting out quickly. That stowed bag won't become a tripping hazard or projectile. That secured tray table won't break your ribs during sudden deceleration. The crew isn't being picky. They're following regulations written in the aftermath of accidents where small details made life or death differences. And when you ignore them, you're not just being difficult, you're gambling with physics at 180 miles per hour. The plane isn't fully stopped until it stops moving. The overhead bins can wait, the aisle will still be there in 30 seconds. Be the passenger who gets it, who follows through, who treats landing like the controlled collision it actually is. Because the worst passengers aren't the ones who ask questions. They're the ones who think they know better than the people trained to bring them down safely. There's a button above your seat. Small, innocent-looking, glowing softly when pressed. Some passengers discover it and suddenly feel like they've unlocked VIP service. Press for water, press for a snack, press because you're bored, press because you dropped your pen, press because you're wondering when the plane will land. Each time that light goes on, a flight attendant has to stop everything, check the seat number, navigate through passengers and carts, and figure out if it's an emergency or just another request that could have waited 5 minutes. The call button isn't a doorbell for personal service. It's an alert system designed for urgent needs, medical issues, safety concerns, emergencies that can't wait for the next service round. When you treat it like a fast food buzzer, you're pulling crew members away from tasks that keep the flight running smoothly. Checking on other passengers, preparing meals, monitoring the cabin, and here's the part that really drives them up the wall: the repeat offenders. The passengers who press once for water, again for ice, a third time for a different drink, then once more to ask what snacks are available. Each request could have been handled in one interaction, but instead the attendant makes 4 trips to the same seat while other passengers wait. The hidden cost is efficiency. Every unnecessary call creates delays that ripple through the entire cabin. Service slows down, wait times increase, and the flight attendants who are already juggling 100 tasks now have to prioritize your third request for pretzels over someone else's legitimate need. Use the button when it matters. Feeling faint? Now you can press it. Passenger next to you needs help. Absolutely, but for routine requests, wait until the crew comes by naturally. They will. They always do. That's literally their job. And when you show that kind of patience, you've just earned silent respect from every crew member on board. Though some passengers create problems, the call button can't fix. The cart finally reaches your row after 30 minutes of slow, steady progress through the cabin. The flight attendant smiles, ready with tongs and trays, and asks the question they've asked 80 times already: chicken or pasta? This is your moment, the decision you've had the entire flight to consider. And somehow now, with the cart blocking the aisle and 50 passengers waiting behind you, now is when you start thinking, what kind of chicken is it? What sauce comes with the pasta? Do you have anything else? Is the chicken spicy? Can I see both options first? Behind that professional smile, the attendant's internal monograph is screaming. Because here's what you don't realize: meal service is a precision operation. The faster it moves, the better everyone's experience. But one slow decision creates a cascade. While you're conducting a full sensory evaluation of your lunch options, the ice in everyone else's drinks is melting. The hot meals are cooling, the people 10 rows back are checking their watches and wondering why service takes so long. And here's the truth bomb: there is no secret third option, no hidden menu in the galley, no chef back there taking custom orders. It's chicken or pasta. Both will taste like airplane food no matter which one you pick. The smart passengers decide before the cart arrives. They listen when options are announced, they pick quickly, say thank you, and let service continue. The difficult passengers treat it like a wine tasting, asking questions that have no good answers and creating delays that affect everyone behind them. And then there's the tray situation. Some passengers try to be helpful by handing back their dirty trays, while others are still being served, stacking garbage on the cart right next to clean meals. It's well-intentioned, but problematic. You've just mixed contamination into a food service operation. Wait for the trash collection. It's coming. They'll ask for your tray. Until then, keep your garbage in your space and let the system work the way it's designed. Meal service doesn't have to be complicated. Pick fast, eat, wait for collection, 3 steps. But somehow people find ways to turn it into a negotiation. The airplane bathroom is an engineering marvel, a fully functional restroom crammed into a space smaller than most closets. Sink, toilet, changing table, mirror, all accessible at 35,000 feet. It's not luxurious, but it works, until passengers get in there. Flight attendants have seen it all. Water splashed everywhere like someone tried to recreate Splash Mountain, paper towels overflowing, mysterious puddles on the floor, soap somehow on the ceiling, and worst of all, the person who walks out without flushing, leaving behind evidence that becomes the next person's nightmare. Here's what passengers forget: someone has to check that bathroom every 20 to 30 minutes. The flight attendants, the same people serving your drinks and ensuring your safety, they open that door not knowing what crime scene awaits them, and trust me, They remember who came out before things went sideways. The bathroom isn't your private disaster zone. It's shared by 200 people, cleaned by crew members who signed up to save lives, not scrub walls. When you splash water washing your hands, grab a paper towel and wipe it down. When you finish, make sure everything flushed properly. Close the toilet lid before you exit. Nobody needs a visual reminder of your visit. And for the love of all things decent, if you make a mess, clean it up. Not because someone's watching, but because you're a functional adult sharing space with other functional adults. The crew won't call you out publicly. They can't, but they notice. They talk about it in the galley. They remember the passenger in 2-B who left the lavatory looking like a crime scene. Don't be that person. The bathroom is small, shared, and the last place on earth or above it where you should abandon basic human decency. Unfortunately, some passengers' bathroom issues start before they even get inside. Every parent knows traveling with babies is tough. The crying, the feeding schedules, the diaper situations that emerge at the worst possible moments. Flight attendants get it. They've seen exhausted parents juggling infants across time zones, and they genuinely want to help. But there's a line, and that line is crossed the moment someone unfolds a diaper on the tray table. Yes, it happens more often than you'd think. A parent decides the lavatory is too cramped, too inconvenient, or maybe they just don't want to wait. So right there, in full view of everyone around them, they turn row 18 into a changing station. The smell hits first, then the visual, then the realization that you're eating lunch on a surface that someone just used for biological waste management. Flight attendants watch this happen and die a little inside. Because while they can't publicly shame anyone, they know exactly what's coming next. That same tray table will serve food to the next passenger on the return flight, sometimes in less than an hour. Every aircraft lavatory has a fold-down changing table. It's small, it's not comfortable, it's definitely not Instagram-worthy, but it exists specifically for this purpose. It's designed to contain messes, protect hygiene, and keep the changing process out of the main cabin where people are eating, sleeping, and breathing recycled air. When you bypass that setup and go rogue at your seat, you're creating a biohazard situation that affects everyone nearby. And here's the detail that makes flight attendants particularly crazy. Some parents then hand the used diaper directly to the crew, like it's part of meal tray cleanup, bag it, seal it, dispose of it properly in the lavatory trash. The flight attendants are safety professionals, not hazmat technicians. They didn't sign up for that, and they shouldn't have to handle it. Traveling with a baby requires flexibility and patience, but it doesn't require sacrificing basic public hygiene. Use the changing table. It's there, it works, and it prevents you from becoming the passenger everyone talks about for all the wrong reasons. You've finished your drink, eaten your snacks, the trash bag is making its slow journey down the aisle, and you know it'll reach you in about 2 minutes. But instead of waiting, you make the move that drives flight attendants absolutely bonkers. You stuff everything into the seat pocket in front of you: napkins, plastic cups, food wrappers, magazines you didn't even read. All crammed into that innocent little pocket like it's a personal garbage disposal. Out of sight, out of mind. Problem solved. Except someone has to deal with it, usually the flight attendant during the quick turnaround between flights. Sometimes the next passenger who reaches in expecting a safety card and instead finds your sticky napkin collection, that seat pocket you treated like a trash can. Someone's reaching into it with bare hands, pulling out mystery liquids, crushed snacks, things that used to be food but have evolved into something else entirely. On short turnarounds, cleaning crews have maybe 20 minutes to prep the entire aircraft for the next flight. They're vacuuming, wiping surfaces, restocking supplies. They don't have time to excavate your personal landfill from 180 seat pockets. So flight attendants often end up doing it themselves. After already working a full shift, because the plane needs to board again and someone has to clean up after passengers who couldn't be bothered to hold their trash for 90 more seconds, the solution is embarrassingly simple. When the trash bag comes by, hand over your garbage. Don't hide it, don't pretend you're asleep, don't wait until deplaning and leave it behind. Just give it to the crew member who's literally asking for it. You don't have to deep clean your row, you don't have to sanitize anything. Just don't create unnecessary work for people who've already spent hours managing hundreds of passengers. The golden rule of flying is stupid simple. Leave your seat the way you found it, or better. Not because someone's grading you, but because basic consideration costs nothing and makes everything smoother for everyone who comes after you. Something happens to people on long flights. Maybe it's the altitude, maybe it's the recycled air, or maybe it's the dimmed cabin lights creating a false sense of privacy. But at some point, someone decides they're not on an aircraft anymore. They're in their living room. The shoes come off first, understandable, then the socks, less understandable. And then, inevitably, a pair of bare feet appears where bare feet should never be, propped on armrests, stretched into the aisle, or worst of all, creeping between the seats in front of them like unwanted guests at a party. Flight attendants see this and immediately add you to their mental list of passengers they'll remember for years. Because those cabin floors aren't clean. They're hosting residue from hundreds of shoes, spilled drinks, dropped food, and substances you probably don't want to think about. That carpet hasn't been deep cleaned since the plane rolled off the assembly line. Walking barefoot through the aisle is basically volunteering to collect every germ, bacteria, and mystery liquid that's been accumulating for months. But hygiene isn't even the main issue. It's where those feet end up when your bare toes start making appearances on someone else's armrest or tray table. You've crossed from comfortable into criminal. The person sitting in front of you didn't buy a ticket to have your feet as a travel companion. They didn't sign up for surprise toe sightings in their peripheral vision. And they definitely don't want to eat their next meal on a surface your feet visited. The crew can't say anything without creating confrontation, so they suffer silently. Wishing passengers understood that being comfortable doesn't mean forgetting you're in public. Bring slippers if you need to free your feet. Bring thick socks. But keep your actual skin away from surfaces other people use. Keep your feet in your own space, pointed downward, minding their own business. Because nothing ruins a flight faster than realizing the strange brushing sensation against your arm is someone else's. Barefoot, living its best life at 35,000 feet. The situation escalates quickly. A passenger wants something, the crew says no or explains a policy, and suddenly phones come out, recording starts. The entire interaction transforms from a simple disagreement into a potential viral video, complete with dramatic angles and selective editing. Flight attendants have become increasingly familiar with this move. The passenger who thinks documenting everything makes them right, makes them protected, makes them the hero of their own reality show. Here's what most people don't understand. Recording crew members without consent creates massive problems. First, it's legally murky. Different countries and airlines have different rules about recording employees without permission. In some places, doing this can get you fined, banned from the airline, or even charged. But beyond legalities, there's the human element. When you shove a phone in someone's face mid-flight, you're not documenting truth, you're escalating tension. The crew can't de-escalate calmly because they're suddenly performing for an audience of thousands. Every word gets measured, every expression analyzed, every decision second-guessed by internet strangers who weren't there and don't understand aviation regulations. The flight attendant trying to enforce a safety rule now has to worry about being turned into a meme. And here's the darker side. Selective recording creates false narratives. The phone comes out halfway through an interaction, missing all the context, all the warnings, all the reasonable requests that were ignored before things got heated. The video goes viral, showing only the confrontation, not the 10 minutes of patience that preceded it. If you have a legitimate complaint, every major airline has proper channels, customer service lines, online forums, corporate contacts that actually investigate and resolve issues. Those systems work. They take complaints seriously, they review incidents thoroughly, but pointing a camera at a crew member mid-shift isn't accountability, it's provocation. It turns a solvable problem into a confrontation, and it makes every future interaction with that crew member tense and defensive. The best passengers understand this. Dignity goes both ways. Treat flight attendants like the professionals they are. If something's wrong, report it properly. But leave the phone in your pocket and handle conflicts like an adult, not like you're auditioning for Drama Channel, because the crew remembers phone wielders long after landing. And trust me, it's not the kind of memorable you want to be. So now you've seen behind the curtain the behaviors that flight attendants notice, catalog, and silently judge every single day. These aren't arbitrary complaints from people who hate their jobs. These are patterns observed by professionals who've spent thousands of hours at 35,000 feet managing the best and worst of human behavior in a pressurized tube traveling 500 miles per hour. Here's what's wild. None of these requests are complicated. Wait your turn boarding. Store your bag near your seat. Use the bathroom before the flight. Keep your shoes on. Clean up after yourself. Basic stuff you'd do automatically at a restaurant, a movie theater, or someone's home. But something about air travel makes people forget the fundamentals. Maybe it's the stress. Maybe it's the feeling of being a customer who paid for a service. Maybe it's the temporary lawlessness of being between destinations in a space that doesn't quite feel like real life. But flight attendants see through all of it. They notice who treats them like humans and who treats them like servants. They remember the passenger who said thank you, made eye contact, followed instructions without drama. And they definitely remember the ones who didn't. The truth is, flying doesn't have to be miserable. It's uncomfortable, sure. It's tiring. It's not designed for luxury unless you're turning left when you're bored. But it's manageable when everyone participates in basic social contract. The crew isn't your enemy. They're not petty rule enforcers looking for reasons to make your life difficult. They're safety professionals who genuinely want you to survive if things go wrong, and they prefer everyone has a decent experience along the way. Every rule exists because something bad happened. Every procedure was written in response to an accident, an injury, an emergency. When they ask you to put your seat up, it's not about control, it's about survivable impact angles. When they ask you to stay seated during turbulence, it's because they've seen passengers hit the ceiling. When they enforce carry-on limits, it's because evacuation seconds matter. So next time you fly, think about the people working behind that curtain. The ones managing your safety while you binge Netflix. The ones staying calm while toddlers scream and adults act worse. The ones who've memorized emergency procedures they pray they'll never use, make their job easier. Follow instructions the first time, keep your space clean, treat them like the professionals they are. And whatever you do, please, for everyone's sake, leave the tuna sandwich at home. Because up here, at this altitude, in this shared space, every small act of consideration creates ripples. Good ones or bad ones, that's entirely up to you. The flight attendants are watching. They're always watching. Make sure what they see is worth remembering for the right reasons.